It's a program the voice of the people. Jeff?
Yes, Ian, today is the 49th anniversary of the Republic. Guyana, next year, of course, will be the 50th. And well, we hope everyone is enjoying Republic Day. But there are so many issues now that need to be addressed on this day. We were told that when Prime Minister Nagamutu, who came back for the flag raising ceremony, when he was in New York, he was met with protests, and he had to also get, he had Secret Service protection. They said there were these black cars and so on there. And so I don't know who's paying for that. They said, who's paying for that protection.
This year? This year?
Yeah. Now, also, Agriculture Minister Holder said there was no progress in the reversal of the U.S. fish ban. Remember, it was Gilbacher, I think it was, right? Gilbacher.
And trout.
Yeah, he said that if a food safety authority was established, the process towards compliance would be faster. But why hasn't he done so? He has to engage his fisheries department. He has to get the food and drug people involved. They're the people who have to comply. Now, Rusal, according to Minister Ali, she went up to the way the workers were in the site where the workers who were hired by Rusal, and they're expected to take back the 61 employees who were laid off, right? And we expect this will be done with no break in service, with no loss of pay. And to recognize the union, the GBGW, as the bargaining agent for the workers. They're supposed to do that, but we haven't heard anything further.
Okay, thank you for
and the U.S. President.
Before going further, because the agenda, read the agenda, 4:30.
Yeah.
The agenda.
Today is Saturday, the 23rd of February, 2019. Happy 49th Republic Day. And the agenda, dual citizenship, love and unity among people, noise nuisance, lawlessness in our society, corruption, victimization, rum shop, rice, sugar industry, crime, the destitute, cost of living, vandalism of property, and GCOM elections, of course, is there. Now, the U.S. President, in his message on our 4th to 9th anniversary.
Let me stick to our agenda. Let me stick to our agenda too, right?
Yeah,
Let me stick to the agenda.
but he praised Guyana's respect for democratic institutions and also praised its role in hemispheric peace. But so that is very important that the U.S. is seeing what is being done in Guyana. But people are complaining now that from April the 1st, right, there will be new taxes for people who are traveling out of Guyana. I don't know if they can postpone it. They intend to introduce from April the 1st some additional taxes for using the airport.
Said complained about the cost of the increasing every day.
But that adds to the cost of living too as well. Of course, the price of food items, the GRA taxes have increased in some instances too. So I don't know what.
Mr. Sharma, happy Mashramani to everybody. I endorse everything that our friend said.
Yes.
Now, we seem to be winning the battle on the Rusal thing, and we must compliment the government when it does the right thing. The minister came out and made it absolutely clear that we are not going to allow any investor in this country to abuse the workers.
Which minister?
Minister Amnali.
Okay.
Well, what happened to the junior minister?
Well, the junior minister should not be a minister.
Why?
So,
you tell me why.
because he abused the workers, whilst this minister praises the workers, which is correct. So what we're now seeing is the beginning of a government that recognizes that the workers of this country are the producers of wealth.
Yes.
And that is what this government should be doing all along.
Yeah, but there's an article saying FITUG did not say anything about it.
It is true because we play silly politics with people's lives, and this should not be. The trade union movement is divided in this country, where you have one supporting one political group or the other. The leaders should not be doing that. There should be have justice for all, where all the workers of this country should enjoy the wealth of their labor. I wish that the minister goes further than that and set up the industrial tribunal where the workers can
Yeah.
go to the court and demand rights,
Yeah.
because the minister should look into what the Chinese who have come here and invested in this country, set up supermarkets and are exploiting, and stores, and exploiting the ordinary women who work in their supermarkets and the young people here in this country. So we need to ensure, the Ministry of Labor needs to ensure, that's why Mr. Lewis has insisted that we have a separate Ministry of
Yeah.
Labor.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you take care of that section
Exactly.
of
We
the
need to do
oppressed-
that. We need
of
to
the
do that.
oppressed people. So I hope she puts that onto the agenda. This coming election, we should campaign that the industrial court be set up where we give rights to workers so they can challenge any employer at any time. I go around to these stores and so on, and there are a lot of people who are not, their employers don't pay their national insurance.
That's true.
I've had the case to go at Leonora, where some of these Chinese supermarkets are not registering the workers. We cannot allow, and I'm glad that the minister said that, and I compliment her for standing up for the right of the workers, the bauxite workers. We should do that at every single employer, and we should send that message to anybody who wants to come, including these oil companies who are massively exploiting our workers. I've encouraged them to join trade unions so that they can get proper representation. Now, the question of, so that brings us to what is called the law and order.
Okay.
Remember this government.
Let me stick to our agenda. Let me stick to our agenda, please.
The agenda is part of the agenda,
Yeah, yeah.
the whole agenda there.
Yeah.
It's about law and order.
Agenda duty.
Yes,
Agenda.
it's about law and order, it's
Yeah.
about crime,
Yeah.
it's about dual nationality.
Yeah.
When the highest lawmakers in this country have broken the law, and they have sat in the house, the highest.
Mr. Green, please come
forum,
forward, please. Your seat is here, right
and
here.
they have
Your seat is ready.
They know- they
You've been
know
late. You've
English.
been late. No problem.
they knowingly.
I know you're sickly, not
the
so strong. Yes,
the
yeah.
parliamentarians
Yeah, good,
knowingly. Welcome back, Mr.
Good.
They
Thank you for coming on
knowingly
here,
sat
bro,
in
right?
the parliament
Good.
on both
Good,
sides,
yes,
on
yes,
both sides,
yes.
and they violated the law.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is to call on all
Yeah.
lawmakers, anybody who wants to be a member of parliament, that they should understand.
There is agenda in the meantime.
That
The
you
agenda.
cannot
430, agenda 430.
violate
That's
the law
what
of
it,
this
right?
country.
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
So law and order
Yeah.
is the issue here that this government was elected to carry out.
You
So
okay,
we
Mr. Green?
need to ensure also
Good.
that those
Yeah.
who are employed, that they carry out their duties and responsibilities
Yeah.
because they are paid by taxpayers, and this is not happening.
Yeah.
So we need to ensure that the trade unions are recognized as bodies that represent workers,
Okay.
and that they're truly recognized. The last government did not recognize the trade unions in the bauxite
Okay.
industry. In fact, they took the side of the employer, and that is why we
Okay.
had this situation.
Okay.
And I'm glad that the minister has actually put it
Thank you
right.
one time someday awarded.
Oh, yes, you
Yeah,
had national,
nobody, yes.
national awards have
Yeah.
been given out, and, but before that, I must give sympathy to the family of Rudy James,
Okay.
who died, a UG lecturer, Professor Rudy James, lecturer in law, who died. Yeah, it's in today's tablet.
Today's
Yes.
paper.
So what is happening that you have the national awards, and the top awards went to Hamley Case, where people, all the prominent ambassadors, David Hills, Ensign Ali, Majid, they all got top awards, national awards. And then the awards spread out further down the line. Others got golden. But let's see what has happened to you. You
I
all
don't- like I did-
look,
forget
look,
me.
yeah, there's something good by you.
Gold by gold by
No. This is ridiculous. We see a lot of people coming after you and getting all these awards, and you still haven't gotten an award.
What should be questioned, CN,
Yeah.
is are there criteria for giving awards to people? I hope that our former minister, Prime Minister, Mr. Green, will answer that because he was part of a government
Mr. Secretary, what's our
that gave out
situation?
awards.
Please.
The procedure is
Yeah.
that someone has to recommend you.
Okay.
And the problem is that some very worthy cases tend to be shy and don't seek persons to recommend them. It's a
Oh.
very simple process. And a lot of people don't know that. And out there are a lot of deserving cases like yourself who have not yet received the awards. I'm sure should be considered at the appropriate time. But maybe those of us in this panel should have sent in the appropriate recommendation, the
Yeah.
form, which was available early in the year.
What type of appropriate? What do you mean by that?
There's a form,
Okay.
You gotta plug the form and send it to who?
Okay.
Office of the President.
Well, Jaipur could have done that. You see, Malcolm Haripur has gotten an award too. Chris Nascimento, Christopher Anthony Nascimento. I thought he had gotten an award previously.
What's he been awarded for? A long-standing member of the PNC?
No, he has shifted his loyalties
Oh, he
sometimes,
shifted.
you know. And he's been under the pay of the PVP
Chris has
at one
been
time.
working in the PR department.
PR. He works at PR for anybody.
It's a very deserving case, there's no question about
Okay.
it.
Basically, let me tell you the anniversary for the is an anniversary. Waiting for the anniversary.
Do it?
Guy and anniversary. Flag raising.
Well, it has come at a very exciting time in
Yeah.
our history.
Yeah.
And I hope that there is calm. Those of you who read Starbuck News 3 weeks ago would have seen a proposal I made in line with what David Hines has said,
Yeah.
that there is need for a rationalization of the situation. There are a lot of pundits out there talking about the law, and they don't understand it.
Yeah.
And I recommend that they read the letter by
Duke Pollard.
Professor Duke Pollard,
Okay.
very incisive. It's on the 17th of February, I think, in the Kaichur News
In the Chronicle.
Chronicle.
Yeah.
And an interesting letter by Dr. David, he's in London, replying to Nandalal and young Ramson. Those letters ought to be read. But before we go ahead, I'd like to take this opportunity, if you don't mind, Sian,
Yes, no problem.
of wishing my good friend Bashkar Sharma a happy birthday.
Yeah.
Ah,
It was 2 days ago.
interesting.
I just come back from Ireland, and I got him on my way back through New York. I only got in here 2 days ago, hence my absence for several weeks. He's one of the enduring Guyanese, and I think he needs to be congratulated and brought on board for the work he's been doing, like yourself, over the years.
But I cannot tell me nothing about that.
His birthday.
He never told me his body. It's my best friend. Like I'm family to me. He never tell me about that.
Well,
You can't
You
announce
forget
it,
me.
you can't announce it
Yeah.
onto the air, you know.
what we need, I remember Bashkar's birthday very well because it's closely from the leader's birthday.
Yeah.
So I never forget it.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
I drove through the city when I returned from Ireland and New York yesterday. And the situation is very, very chaotic.
Okay.
To use the
What do
words-
you saw really?
to use the words of a former prophet, chief is chaotic.
Yeah.
It's not only chaotic, it's unacceptable. I hope to speak with the mayor during the week because what I saw bothered me. First of all, I think we need parking meters. Whatever may be the dynamics and the difficulties, we need parking meters. I saw yesterday a large, huge, humongous vehicle with, looks to me about a dozen or so piles, obviously put to be driven in a property, on a property in Regent Street. This was in the morning.
Yeah.
A completely unacceptable situation. Those vehicles, like the containers, should be restricted to
To certain rules.
up to 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and after night when the normal traffic has subsided. And it's something that really bothered me.
Okay.
We stood up at the corner of Regent and Camp Traveling North and lost 2 traffic lights because the traffic was backing up from Rob Street on that light.
Okay.
And I think we need to do something
Okay.
about the traffic in Georgetown.
So I'm going to talk about the dust shooter, that's issue.
Well, I spoke about those outside the GPO.
There's one on the agenda, that's issue.
Yeah, they're still there, but they're sitting on the pavement, and, you know, we need to find a home for them, you know. Find out what their problem is and allocate them to wherever they need to go, whether it's at the mental institution, whether it's be in the Chavez
Yeah.
place up the East Coast, or, you know, wherever. We need to take them off the streets and you know.
Agenda, Casablanca.
We've had that situation,
Yeah.
Mr. Sharma,
Yeah.
before. We had that discussion
Yeah.
here. I don't know how you can contain some of these people. You can't restrict their freedom to move, to go and come. They need stability. Yes, I agree. We need to look after them. They shouldn't be on the street. They shouldn't be sleeping on the street. It looks very bad on us. We have enough resources in this country to take care of people of that sort. Something more needs to be done.
Yes.
On the question of beggary, there are people who are,
Professional beggars.
professional beggars. They come out every morning, like how somebody goes to work and beg on the street.
Yeah, we had a blind man one
We
time.
need to investigate the welfare of these people, because I think that these people are being exploited
Okay.
by family and friends who
Yeah.
send them there and then collect their money. That's something, that's a criminal act, and I think that needs to
Okay.
be
Mr.
taken.
Green, we have Casablanca now. People come from Casablanca very high now.
On the question
Yeah, yeah.
of street people,
Yeah,
it's a complex question.
okay.
I personally looked at this some 30 years ago and found first many family members ignored those persons who sort of slipped off the loop.
Yeah,
Secondly, the government did then and up to now provided opportunities for them.
yeah,
The question is, and this was raised at several levels, whether we should treat them in a manner that you treat a prisoner.
yeah.
In other words, restrict their movement. There is a group that feel you should not do that because, you know, of human rights and so forth.
Okay.
On the other hand, there are a lot of these fellows who are just worthless. They don't want to accept responsibility. And as I said, it's a complex matter. And unless
You can
you
talk to
decide to
them.
incarcerate some of them, as some countries have done.
Okay.
We arrested a man once.
You said incarcerate?
Yes, some people do it. Some countries do it. If you want to keep the streets clear.
Okay.
We arrested a man years ago for going into the bin outside Border Market. Nothing was wrong with him. We thought he was
Insane.
insane. But the chap had pigs.
Pigs.
And he would go in there, look for food, throw the things outside, and keep the place dirty. He didn't care. Perfectly sane.
What the people who are drinking the water in the drain, they're drinking the water in the drain. I saw a man drinking the water inside it to drink the water from the drain.
I saw one doing that just behind here.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
of
like
South Road.
Yeah,
and
that's
Milton
right, that's
Street.
right.
Sien, I'll give you.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay, sorry.
Hold on, yeah.
They're psychiatric cases. Again, the hospitals have tried with them. If they take their medication, they can function normally. But if they don't, they slip back into this situation.
But we can have social workers talking to them, though, and see what can be done.
But the big problem is if on this program we can persuade
Yeah.
family members
Take
to
some
take an
interest.
active role in the rehabilitation.
But I remember years ago, there was a man named Wilson who was a minister, I think, with the PPP government, and he had a
PMG.
son who was used to be on the streets too.
All Maxwell, Gladstone, Wilson.
Wilson.
Yeah.
If you go
Yeah.
to Stabrook Market,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that little girl, dwarf. She sits there every single morning until late afternoon. Have you ever seen her? Somebody has to bring her and place her there in that chair.
Okay.
It is an inhuman thing for somebody like that little girl, to be sitting there every single day. I took a photograph of it, pasted on the on thing, but nothing has happened
Yeah.
over the last 6-7 years. This situation has been going on. We got to do something about these things. We just can't allow it to just carry on like
The
that.
trouble is that a government has so many complex problems
Yeah.
that these matters seem to slip off the
So,
front
but,
border.
But isn't it a
but so many
city
UG,
matter?
like, so many people graduating from UG with social work and so on, they can go to and see who are amenable to some kind of discipline where they can put them in some
But as
institution.
I said, short of incarceration,
Yes,
it's a difficult matter. First
I
of
know.
all, you've got to take the medication,
yeah,
and people who are mentally abnormal
yeah.
don't like to take the medication because the first hurdle is to get them to accept that they're abnormal. I mean, a lot of us think
But a
we're
lot of
normal,
people,
we're not.
a lot of middle class people in society who don't really recognize that they're abnormal too.
That is true.
That seem to be leading normal
Rahman,
lives.
let me touch on cost of living very high now in this country. Very, very high.
I don't
What do you
think,
think about
I
that?
don't think the cost of food is high, Shane. There's an abundance of food. Seriously, there's an abundance of
Yeah.
food.
Yes.
What we need to be able to do is to try to help people how to budget, what to buy. People buy things that I think are not eatable, not nutritious.
You can't say they can't say that.
Well, I'm saying
don't
that
want to say what you
because
want to
I
eat.
am saying that because I know
You can't tell
that.
nobody what you want to eat.
Because if we don't advise people
Yeah.
from school what to eat, what to drink, how to conduct their lives, they will end up a burden on the system because what is happening is that we have people becoming a burden on the health system. They are sick, they drink all kinds of tablets and medicine and so on that are unnecessary. So they need to be educated about the kind of food they eat, the kind of thing they drink, and how they eat it, and so on. We have got to educate people about life, how they live.
But what people are concerned about are the taxes.
Because at the end of the day, they end up being a burden on the state and taxpayers who are working hard to maintain their own lives.
Yeah.
So when you talk about cost of living, what do you really mean? Cost of living in terms of what do you buy? We all have to budget. We all have to budget.
You don't have the food, how do you budget?
No,
You
but
don't have
see,
to eat.
there
How
is
do you-
an
how do you
issue.
budget what?
There is an issue.
CN,
Yeah,
hold on.
yeah.
I think my friend is correct.
Yeah.
The problem is to get through to some people this so-called education. And I speak as one, I've investigated some of these cases.
Okay.
I found a young woman who said things were tight.
Uh-huh.
She was taking a lunch basket to school with her 2 children with bottled drink and things she bought from KFC. I said, get up a half an hour before,
Prepare some-
make swank. I try to persuade her swank
Yeah.
is healthier.
Yes.
The lime you get vitamin C,
Yeah.
the sugar you get energy. She said, oh, she's too busy. Just spend a half hour. The old time people in the countryside,
They prepare
Indo and
food.
Africa,
Yeah.
do their roti, the little fish, and the things.
Bhaji and curry and all
You,
that.
you
And it's
prepare your
healthy.
own home food.
So
exactly.
my friend is right. We need to educate, and I've had experience of members of my own staff spending the money. I don't want to get in
Okay.
trouble with any
Yeah.
of the commercial people.
Okay.
All this KFC is a waste of
The
money.
waste of money. As I
You know,
say.
the fast food thing.
We
you
have got to
definitely-
put all the countries of the world, developed countries of the world, insist that the kind of food they
It's like they've
sell
touched on
are nutritious.
health facility, health facility.
Yeah, but what I wanted to do is
Yeah.
emphasize,
Yeah.
I understand that at the airport, they want to introduce additional taxes for the new airport, but I think it's very too early, from April the 1st, you know, that.
April the 1st is all Foods Day. Be careful.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was in the news that they wanted to do that. But going to the health
Health
facility.
facility, health.
Well, I spoke about
Yeah,
that
yeah.
several times
Yeah.
because I myself was a patient
Yeah.
at the Georgetown
Yeah.
Hospital, and I said that they need to have better management there. You know, they can't have people going 7 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You know what I'm saying? They need to stagger the hours when they tell people to come, and also to have a system whereby not only the nurses are ready, but the staff that are dealing with the files and so on are on time.
Yeah.
You know, so that people are not kept waiting on duty. You know,
Okay.
and these are sick people. They'll need to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom. They'll need to eat something. They'll need to defecate or something, or you know. So we need to pay attention to them.
Mr. Graham, people said not get medication, medication. They're not getting medication to buy. Insulin, and what else?
They're getting, what I'm saying is sometimes you get too much medication. You know, like when I was there, I've got tablets now for
Last for the whole year.
excess of some kind of some tablets that they give you plentiful, but others are in short supply. Others are in short supply. Yes.
Basic thing. Mr. Green, why is it come then?
It's a challenge. He's
Okay.
right. I've investigated some complaints.
Okay.
Some are valid. On the other hand, you have people who go from doctor to doctor to
Yes.
get similar medication.
Correct.
I suppose everybody wants a second and third opinion. And the hospital can only budget for so much antihistamines, antiseptics, antibiotics.
Antibiotics. Yes.
And if it's misused, you can have a problem. Very often, those who complain are impatient. You go Tuesday and there's no medication, particularly at the public hospital. But they may have just run short the day before. You go back in 48 hours, you get what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Colin,
I think
hello?
Antibiotics are plentiful.
Hello?
the minister's doing
Hi,
our
Mr.
best in the
Chairman?
circumstances.
Yes.
Good
Go ahead, please.
to your panel.
Yes.
You know, I'm looking at your program. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yes.
It's something I wanted to share. I'm a former social worker,
Okay.
Yes.
right? And there are many contributing factors why people are on the street.
Yes,
Yes.
that's true.
Now, one of the main things I would say, I have worked at the Ministry of Human Services, now Ministry of Social Protection.
Okay.
Right? One thing you got it was, Mr. Green was saying, there are many factors, but one of the main factors you've got to investigate the institutions that is dealing with the homeless people.
Yes.
I have worked there,
Yeah.
and the amount of abuse that's going on there, and as a social worker, I'm obligated to address those abuses. When I try to address it, I was being victimized for all of that, for addressing and doing my job.
Okay.
Now, I can tell you, I'm retired 18 months. I have not received my pension because the victimization continues. I went to the office since I have retired in 17 September. I have not been able to meet Minister Ali.
Why-
I wrote her
what?
6 register mails. She's not responding. I wrote to the president, and within 2 weeks, he has responded. He has sent 4 letters to her for her to address the issue. She still did not want to address the issue.
Why? What
There's
the
a
reason
no
why?
confidence motion. Now she decided to call me in. When I went last month, she started to abuse me and started to insult me. Now you're saying the permanent secretary and the personal office have been sending me documents to say there were overpayments of salary since 2011,
Yeah.
and they have corrected it. Why didn't they not notify me since 2011? Now they're telling me about that. Now, what I wanted to say, the minister is not knowledgeable of her roles. She don't have problem-solving skills nor listening skills. I wrote to the president and told him that. She's very uncaring. And she would insult me and say she is caring, but she's angry that she has to address issues.
Ma'am, could please send me a letter. Please send me a letter.
6 months, Mr. Sherman, still have not received my pension. The PS and the PPO have been sending me documents with a whole some mistake and padding of the documents.
Okay.
She's not addressing that. 18 months, my money has lost its spending power. What happened to my interest and all of that? How am I living? I'm single, I don't have children and all. They have no consideration. So when she goes on and thinks that she's caring, I just have to laugh. People are talking, they're looking on the outside. The people need to look on the inside and the facade that they're presenting. Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
good. Mr. Grover, do you respond to that?
Well, I say on this program
Yeah.
ad nauseum,
Yeah.
every story has two
Two
and
sides. 3 sides.
If
Yeah.
the lady who called has a
Yeah.
problem of discrimination,
Yeah.
she can write to the ombudsman.
Yes.
I think at our level, she can write either you or myself.
Send me a letter. Send me a letter right here.
And I will take it up
Yeah,
with the minister. I found the minister very quick to respond to
Which one?
calls I
Which
made
other
to
minister?
her.
Which
Who
other
is the
minister?
minister?
Nali,
Minister Amna Ali.
Okay.
that's not my experience.
Not my experience.
My experience has been
Not my
But
experience.
you're
either.
Hamilton
well,
Green.
I've been chased off the podium by that same
You're Hamilton Green.
minister.
I can only speak for myself.
Because you're Hamilton Green, former Prime Minister.
Well, I don't know, but
And I've seen her abusing people loudly
only
when I went to see her at Congress Place.
I can only speak for myself.
Call in here. Hello?
Mr. Chairman, it's me again, Mr.
Yeah. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Mr. Green, I have wrote from the office of the ombudsman.
Yeah.
Mr. President, who told me to write to him.
Yes.
That's Justice Patterson. I had one meeting with him. And I wrote him since October, and I went last month to him. He said he's been writing my ministry, the permanent secretary, Ms. Baird, and she's not responding.
What?
He's waiting for a response.
All right, send-
I know there is sanctions.
send-
I mean,
Send me a
there are-
letter. Send me a letter.
Send Mr.
Well,
Sharma.
Mr. Green, I would like to have a number for you. I'm going to bring my documents and show you and proof of what's going on.
All right.
Of
Either
course.
Mr. Sharma myself, we can look at
You
it.
can look at it, right?
Come Tuesday, come on
Do you have a
Tuesday.
number, or how can I get on to you?
Could you come on Tuesday?
Could you come on Tuesday?
My
And the same
number
number
is-
here.
Pardon?
You can get Mr. Sharma this number.
Same number, yes.
Or my number at home is 2273194. I talk to anybody.
227-3194.
Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, yeah.
Good afternoon to the entire panel. Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I noticed your agenda running on the TV screen.
Yes, right, yes.
But what I think number one should have been breach of the Constitution, because it's only the highest law of this land, right?
Yeah.
I supported this coalition government, right, with an expectation of getting 20% increase as a sugar worker.
Okay.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
A lot of things that happened under this government was happening under the previous government.
I agree with you. Yes.
In some instances,
Yeah.
it get worse.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it clear now. Anyone who continues to support this coalition government is very irresponsible, lawless, reckless. Because if you're gonna have the president saying he ain't going nowhere, he ain't upholding no constitution.
No.
You have
He
minister
didn't-
of the
he
Congress
didn't
please
say
call
that.
him for
No,
what?
then he didn't say
The
that.
Have
He didn't say that.
irresponsible people, and we cannot sit on the
Oh.
television here and defending these people and supporting them. You
Oh.
calling for war? This is a peaceful country.
Who called for war?
Nobody call for war, eh,
Have the
man?
minister at Congress please calling if we don't get no house registration before election, they're going to be war in region.
No.
Who said that?
Who said that?
Yes, we have the minister. You did.
Which minister?
Which minister?
I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to send it
I'm
to
send
you.
it-
on your
send it to
Facebook.
me.
Which minister said that? Which
And you're gonna
minister
see
said
it.
that?
No,
Yeah.
which minister?
Name the minister.
Okay. Hello? Call you. Hello?
Hello, good day, Mr. Sharma.
Go there.
I called to tell you, this about 4 weeks now, the street light cut off on the whole of Cornwall, right down to Higgs. And up to now, that nobody can come fix it for us up to now. The whole place is dark, people getting robbing and all kinds of sad
Street
things.
light.
I don't know who's responsible for that, if you can shed some light.
That's Ministry of
Sure, we'll do something.
Infrastructure.
Sure, we'll do something about that, right?
Public infrastructure.
Yeah, public-
All right, see your best you can do
Good.
for
I'm going
us.
to do that,
Hey,
right?
King
Cornwall.
Call it good. Hey, hello?
George, you have a
Hello?
lot of streets too without lights.
Hello?
No.
Yes.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes?
How you back in this government?
Why do I back up the government? Why can't government? Why can't back it?
The government using you as a tool.
Yeah, they're not using me. They're not using me.
He's experienced enough to know.
Yeah. He got it before, you know?
May I
Yeah,
comment
yes.
on
Yeah.
the two remarks made by the penultimate caller
yeah.
and the other one?
Yeah.
It is so sad that people without the competence
Yeah.
can talk about breach of the Constitution.
Yeah.
This matter is being handled by the highest legal luminaries.
Okay.
As I said, read Professor Pollard's piece, very interesting, where he said that the Chief Justice misdirected herself. In law, only the highest people who understand the spirit and the context in which laws were framed can talk about the breach of the Constitution. This matter, I think, is being misunderstood. And because the coalition has an inferior PR to the PPP, and I say so,
Yeah.
the impression being given is that the coalition somehow is reluctant or afraid for elections. That's not the case. There are two compelling conditions. One, GCOM is the agency to trigger elections. If they say they are unprepared, there's nothing you can do about it. Secondly, the law that my friend talks about requires registration every 7 years. It will be quite inappropriate to go to an election, no matter what the circumstances, and to deny those persons who are now qualified the right to vote.
Yeah.
they can only gain that right as part of a house registration. So you capture those persons who are 18. Next, Guyana has a population of just over 750,000. We have a voters' roll of nearly 600,000. Something has to be wrong with that list. The PP claimed it was inflated before 2015. We claimed it was inflated. The only way to get it deflated or corrected is to ensure that there's a house registration. In other words, you can't go with an imperfect list. And one has to do with a legal position. Under no confidence motion, the PP 30 years ago talked with great vigor and aplomb about people crossing the floor and tried to put in legislation in 2005, I think it was. 2007, conditions which should prevent people from crossing the floor. The people were stung by the fact that they lost great men like Ranjit Chandy Singh. The people at Maikoni, the chap who has the gas station at over the river, past Minister of Education.
You mean Mandel?
Mandel, Razak Mandel, and others. And they said, you need a parliamentary condition where people who belong to a particular party should not be easily taken over by the other party.
Could I ask you a question?
I think the coalition should, that don't is coalition. We must have a coalition.
Could I ask Mr. Green a question?
Coalition is
Coalition, yeah. Go with your go. Coalition with your go.
coalition is viable.
Yeah,
The coalition, I think,
yeah,
is a precursor
yeah.
to having what I hope should happen, a national front government with clear rules that anyone who is in breach of the rules is cashiered and sent off.
That's right.
You don't have a situation where a party keeps a man in for violating the rules because he's a party person. And that can only come from a valid, viable national front
Ram,
government.
please hold, please hold. You are here, please, hello?
Hi, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, yes.
Good afternoon to you in this panel.
Yeah,
Mind to all guys.
yes,
I want to say one thing to you.
yes.
In this country or any country in the world, nobody not more bigger than the constitution of the country, right?
What?
Nobody is not above the constitution.
Okay, yes.
The constitution could change the law of the country.
That's
the law
right,
of the country
that's
could
right.
change the constitution.
We all agree with that. Yeah,
Not one thing you must look into, or the government or whoever
Yeah.
they must look into it. They must looking at this foreign capital money. If this foreign capital money continues to sell for 228 and 225 or 230, cost of living is sky rise and high. It's something you all must look into. It's a
Okay.
very, very important thing, right?
thank you very much.
You enjoy it.
Hold on, call you in here, hello? Yeah, hello? Hello? Go ahead, Ram,
Yeah,
please.
I just wanted to, Mr. Green would
Sorry about that.
know it better than me.
Yes.
We need to clarify this issue. I can recall, maybe you can correct me, in 2007, when two people crossed the floor, I think it was Ramdatan, Mr. Ramdatan, who is now minister, he left the PPP and became an independent member. And then somebody else from the PNC went across to the PPP. And then that was how Mr. Corbyn and Mr. Jagdeo got together. And they amended the Constitution to stop the crossing of people. Did you remember that?
The principle was established. That's
Right.
what I said.
Okay.
That should
And there was a clause in the Constitution which says, if I could be corrected on this, that if a person is displeased with his party on either side, that he or she has to write to the Speaker, informing the Speaker that he or she is displeased, and automatically the Speaker expels that person. So that on this question of the no confidence, that should not have occurred. And where I think we erred on our side, Mr. Nagamutu and all the rest of the people who were supposed to would have objected to the no confidence to use that clause of the Constitution, which we didn't do. I think the Chief Justice referred to that clause.
Call in here, hello?
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Just two quick points.
Number one, the Constitution, if we ain't got Constitution in the country, or law, I call it law. If we ain't got law in the country, we ain't got a country, right?
Why you say that?
Any country without law, it's your lawlessness, buddy. You know that any big people that understand and know that if you ain't got law, if you running with law in the country, it's your lawlessness.
Okay.
That's true, that's true.
Number two, when I watch this whole thing was going on for the last 3 months, I seen that they're playing chess and the government playing draft. You might what? Let me explain to y'all why.
Yeah.
In the 1990s, a lot of people like me, age 45 and below, don't remember them time though. They remember PPP time. And what this thing is doing right now is remembering people about that time, about a lot. Me grandmother telling me the other day, you know that people don't forget. She telling me, yeah, see when PNC going government way, it happen.
But what when Janet
Hold on.
Jagan?
Over the room.
Why do you want to?
What would Janet Jagan throw the thing over her shoulder?
Hold on. Why do you want the coalition?
Right?
Coalition.
The coalition?
Yes.
The coalition is not, they tell you all this already. This is TNC. AFC ain't got no power.
Why you say that, man?
I tell you, you ain't got no power in this coalition, so you know that.
Why you not power? We just a party, man.
You ain't got no stay. You're staying here, but you ain't got no stay in
No, I got a lot of saying. I got a lot of saying, man.
What about Janet Jagan when she threw the paper over her shoulder?
I hear you, partner.
Janet Jagan. Was
So
that? Huh?
go to the wrong shoulder. Out there.
Yeah. Love it, though.
He wasn't born, he wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
He wasn't
In
born.
your body.
He wasn't born
I
yet.
think
Yeah.
Mr. Sankey's wasn't heard. He was asking, we talk about lawlessness and
Yeah.
the law. When Mrs. Jagan, when she was being sworn as president,
Yeah.
threw a court order
Order.
over her shoulder.
Oh, shit, that's right.
That is the height of disrespect for the judiciary.
Yeah.
And the Constitution.
Well, the judiciary is part of the
Yeah,
Constitution.
yeah. Well, I mean, in that sense, at least what he was
There are
referring to.
three legs,
Yeah.
the judiciary,
Yeah, right.
the executive, and the parliament.
No, for layman purposes, what he was
Calling
talking
in here,
about, the
hello?
Constitution, we
Hi,
violated the
good afternoon,
Constitution.
Mr.
breached the
Sharma.
Good afternoon. Good
Constitution.
afternoon.
I hear your brother there talking about you have to inform the speaker if you are not pleased about the government.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree, but that is like you're going on cheating on your wife and then you're telling she you're going on cheating.
Well, that's how they frame.
You before.
But that's how they frame. That's how they frame that clause, my friend. I didn't make it, neither you.
Therefore, what's the use of the no confidence part of the Constitution?
Well, let Mr. Green answer
that.
because
You
he
know,
was,
there are the legal luminaries who argue, and I think Jai Paul made the point,
Yeah.
that the Constitution itself talks about a confidence motion and not a no confidence motion.
That is true.
And in that context, there's a legal challenge to the whole procedure. But these are technical and legal matters, and I wouldn't want to pontificate except to say that Duke Paul's letter should be read by all those persons who are making these statements, including those who write in the newspapers. He analyzed the law, he dealt with the precedents,
Yes.
and he dealt with political matter, because this matter is really political more than
Yeah,
anything.
and he served as a judge on the Caribbean Court of Appeal, so he's got
He's
that.
one of our bright legal people.
Calling in here. Hello?
Unlike some who claim to be bright and claim to come from top universities and
Yeah.
really didn't come.
Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The thing with Janet Jagan,
Yes.
she was already sworn in when she get the
No.
She was already getting sworn when she get the court order.
Because I was wrong shoulder, man.
My
Yeah,
friend,
but that's right anyway.
my friend,
Yeah.
my friend,
All right.
I was,
One more thing. Hold on, one more thing.
listen to me.
Mr. Green.
I just want to correct you. I was present.
You know,
I was here too.
Mr. Green.
No, on the same point.
Let
Let us finish the same point.
Let's just finish the same point you raised. What did you tell me?
I was present. She was not yet sworn in
So
when
that's
the
it.
order was brought.
I
think Sienna was there as
Green.
Yeah, no, with that. You try and pick words.
He will never, that's the problem with them. They will never accept the truth.
Yeah.
You call on the program, somebody who was there, two people who were there
It's
said.
when I frame it.
And just he carried on.
I frame it.
I don't understand this.
I don't
type of
cover it.
behavior.
We still in line. What do you want to say?
You know what you want to say. You know what you want to say. You want to attack you. Hello?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, yes.
Mr. Sharma, it seems to be that the time you take to order and talk, if you can assist the people and helping the country moving forward, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they cannot see what you see.
How do you can do that? You tell me how you can do that.
Huh?
How you can do that?
How you can do that?
Yes.
Call them in, because sometimes they would be blindfolded by seeing other things.
Okay.
And call the people and tell them how we can move the country.
Call who
Because
forward?
we are not going forward, we are going backward all the time.
Who said so?
Huh?
Who said we're going backwards?
We're going backward.
How? How are you going backwards?
You can
Explain.
remember your days. You may say when you get power, you're going to electrocute the people. With
What
power.
the Nancy story talking about? Nancy story.
That's Nancy's
He
story.
That is
calls,
Nancy's story.
calls on the station and makes nonsensical,
Nonsense.
nonsensical comments.
Yeah, exactly.
There's Gail Tisha said that too about me. Gail Tisha said that. Me want election. Me election. How can say something like that? How can say something? But you know me election.
You know,
They distort what you
Yeah,
said.
yes, yes.
I have a concern.
Yes, yes.
I have a concern
Yeah,
to
yes.
the caller who just called.
Yeah.
That if you read the newspapers, the PP is disconnecting themselves from Roger
Yeah.
Khan, who is about to return to Guyana.
Yes,
It's an amazing statement.
by Jagdeo.
I mean, these people are in bed with this man. This man made a public statement in 2006 saying that he was part of an effort to help the government, said things which were clearly illegal, and the government did nothing about it.
And a businessman on the East Coast saw when he went into the office, but the Amanches left the country, because he didn't want to
Now
get
he's
in
here. Now we hear that
They don't know him. They don't all sorts of
it's
things.
like the chap who was given all the rights to
Calling your name.
his
Hello?
plane at
Hello? Yes?
Hello?
Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sharma.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
I want to talk one thing about Miss Sankey.
Yeah. What was
She used to work
that?
at Tower Hotel.
Nothing personal.
No,
nothing-
No. Never work in Tower
Never,
Hotel.
never. No, never,
I
never.
wo- I
never.
work-
Me
program,
used to
no,
work there. Me used
no,
to work
No,
there.
no, don't take it
All
off.
right.
Waste it.
Hello?
Call it insult.
Hello?
people.
Hello, Mr. Sharma.
Yes.
I agree with the call. That call, a couple called ago with 3-4.
What, like what?
It's same PNC concern.
What about the PNC? What happened to the PNC?
Waste it.
Two party, no other party, got no say.
Man, shut him up. Yes. Hello? What are attacking now?
That
Yeah.
is, look,
Yeah.
look, what has happened, Mr. Shall I say this?
Yes.
There's a letter in the newspaper saying that the PPP is split in half. It's completely
Yes,
Yeah,
split.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oscar Ramjeet
I have been
wrote from
saying
abroad
this
saying,
over and over again. And the other half that follows Jagdeo are the ones that call on the program, who have no intellect. They call on the program and they say nothing that makes sense. The other half, who are Dragonites, are not calling because they're sensible people.
Yes.
And whenever they call, they make valid points and they discuss issues. They don't call and make...
Call your name. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Sharma.
Yes? Hello?
Why cut off people when they're talking about?
Because they talk
Because that's
nonsense.
nonsense, man. We can't allow that.
Talk nonsense.
Can't allow that. Can't allow
talking
that.
about,
You know,
I
Yeah, yeah.
total tower.
In response to what my friend just said,
Yeah.
as I said, I passed through New York from Ireland recently.
Yes.
And I met two groups, one a small Islamic group and a small Hindu group.
Yeah.
They're both from West Demerara.
Yeah.
And they told me some things which I wouldn't repeat on this station about the presidential candidate, which I found frightening, things I never heard about his character.
Character, yes.
And they should know they're Indo-Guyanese, they come from the same community. And I'm amazed, really, but that's how the cookie crumbles. They said things to me which I didn't know and didn't.
Look, Mr. Green,
Found hard to
the
believe.
facts are there. Mr. Jagdeo had a conference with the his presidential candidate. This is their document. And none of the people who challenged Ali went. Mr. Nandalal wasn't there, Ms. Prasad wasn't there, Dr. Frank Anthony was not there. Those
How
were
you
the
know that?
three.
How you know that?
I know that from the man who gave me this.
Man, give me a piece of paper.
Yeah, he was invited to go to the conference. He attended the conference,
Yeah.
and he got his document,
Yeah.
which sets out Jagdev's new manifesto. He called people to discuss the manifesto, and he put out a manifesto.
Okay.
So what's the point calling people to discuss something that you already put out?
Fait accompli.
Yeah, when you are discussing, when you call people to discuss something, that shows the idiocy of these people. When you call somebody to discuss something, you must have a plain sheet. Mustn't got nothing on it, right? And then you begin to ask people around what you think, and you write that down. Even the ABC of consultation, Jagdev does not understand. ABC, much less to talk about openness.
Mr. Green, do you follow up on that? Yeah.
But as I said, the Roger Khan thing is very frightening.
Yes.
Roger Khan was responsible for stealing this country. The government did nothing. The Americans had to pluck him out, and they knew if he landed here, he'll be protected because they had all the information.
Okay.
And to think that he's coming back to this country and with a statement that, oh, he was not part of us is frightening.
Okay.
I live a few yards from George Bacchus. And when the time comes, I'll say the things he said to me before he was killed by the same gang organized by Gadraj and Roger Khan.
Mr. Green,
It's frightening.
did you remember that Mr. Roger Khan plead what is called a plea bargain?
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be locked up for life, Mr. Sharma. And he was given 15 years.
Yeah.
Are you following what's going on now here with Trump and Mr. Trump? How for them to be given that kind of treatment, they had to give information
Yeah.
that are vital to the American government
Security.
and what has happened here. So all that information that he's got, that he gave over the period that he was incarcerated, that caused him his sentence to be reduced drastically,
Okay.
Yeah.
are available.
Okay.
And
And
we
when
see,
the time comes, the American State Department will release it. So whoever is doubting their involvement, it will come to light.
Mr. Green, say your view on the Roger Khan story. Your view.
It's a serious matter.
Yeah.
Because if the PP is now saying they're going to distance themselves from him, it's unbelievable. I don't think it has any credibility.
and President Trump, in his message on the 49th anniversary, said that praise Ghana's respect for democratic institutions and its role in promoting hemispheric peace. So the Americans are seeing something that
The Americans had to pluck Roger Khan out because he was being protected here.
Yeah.
Brought in all kind of illegal equipment.
By the way,
Ramsamy knows about it, but nobody talks about
an
it.
important information. The man who arrested Roger Khan in Suriname,
Yes.
who was going to be the next prime minister,
Santoki.
president, he's coming here sometime during this month to speak at a transparency conference. Coming here.
Santoki is his name, Santoki.
And if you want to go to it, you got to pay $10,000.
What?
$10,000. It's a fundraising thing for Transparency International.
Call your name. Hello? Hello? Call you. Hello?
Hello,
Yes.
Mr. Sharma.
Yes.
I listened to you guys up there, man, and you need to call me in a day to explain the Constitution.
You must come.
You're a lawyer?
No, he's a liar. He's a liar. He's a liar.
Who's he?
Hello.
I know he's a liar. I know he's a yes.
He's a
Go ahead,
liar.
please. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Article 156.
Yeah, yes.
A member of the National Assembly
Yes.
elected on a list shall cease to be a member of the Assembly if he or she declares in writing to the Speaker or to the representative of the list from which his or her name was extracted that he or she will not support the list.
Okay.
You see, but what happened-
Okay.
Yeah, listen, they wrote the Constitution without putting in what the amendment should be. They say if he or she declares. They should have said must declare or shall. And therefore,
Yes. Mr. Hussein.
Mr. Hussein.
Hussein, yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Hussein.
Yes, yes.
and therefore,
Yes.
the not crossing floor intention was not put properly in the Constitution.
I see.
A man can do anything he wants. He can inform the Speaker, or he can vote, or he can do anything he wishes. And that's why Sharon Das could have voted despite this article.
I see.
So the thing with the cross floor is not properly written. They always got a pack of joke or amended the Constitution.
Yes.
You wouldn't know nothing but Constitution. Oh, another point I want to bring to your attention, is the point that young Sharma, Jaipal is making. Article 1066. The Cabinet, including the President, shall resign if the government is defeated by a vote of a majority of all the elected members of the National Assembly on a vote of confidence. You see what happens? Vote of confidence is a description of confidence or no confidence.
Yeah.
So you can't argue that because you have vote of confidence, there is no confidence. And in a case in Trinidad, I think it's Siriram and Sugar Estates, the judges said when you have a positive thing written in a law, it also includes the negative.
Yes.
I told you time and again, man, call me and never have all this.
Come Tuesday. Come Tuesday.
All right, Mr. Sharma. You gentlemen, I see you all for a long time. How are you going?
Come Tuesday. We're there.
Come in Tuesday or Saturday.
I'll go Tuesday.
Come Tuesday.
Thank you for calling. Hello? Yeah.
Hello,
Yes.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Panel.
Yes.
So, what I'm interested in here
What are you interested in?
is ideas to move this country peacefully forward from the
What now? He's forward? You move it?
March.
We're not around with the country.
Yeah,
I see nothing wrong with the country.
We're harping back on the past.
No.
And we're not looking forward.
Brother,
That's my concern.
Thank you very much.
you're too impatient. That's your problem.
Hello, call. Call you. Hello.
2 call ago, that man is a bright man.
He should set up your own political party.
You can get your own party, yes.
He should have your own party.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Green.
The trouble is we have people who are unaware of the nuances
That's
of the
right.
Constitution. Whatever is written in a Constitution or a law has to do with what the intention was of the framers
Yes.
and what the extant conditions were at that time. And this is why you have the legal luminaries interpreting laws. One may say it's blue, another may say it's red. And that is why you have the legal profession. And I wouldn't want to pontificate and to even do what my friend did. And I agree with him, because I think Jaipal is correct when he adverts to the fact that the law and the Constitution for us are a motion of confidence. And therefore, what he's saying, there's no place for a no confidence motion. I think he's right.
Who's right?
Jaipal.
Uh-huh.
And he said he's going to raise the question, even as an individual, and I hope he does.
Well, what does he challenge it in court? He said he was going to challenge
this
it
is
in
the
court.
He said so.
He should do that. He should go ahead and do that, because it adds to the debate and the discussion
Yeah.
about what we are talking about. But I think that a constitution, Mr. Green, with all respect, due respect, the constitution must be a document that an ordinary person can read it and understand. It cannot be in that kind of complicated language. I can understand other laws that are made. And we live in a modern society. Now today, anybody can Google the laws of Guyana, any aspect of it, and they can get it on their phone.
Information you want.
So it must be a situation.
I'll tell you something. You're right and wrong. A constitution is intended to be a document to give directions and guidance. The British ruled more than half of this world for centuries without a written constitution, because there was a thing called tradition and there's a thing called practice.
But they had laws, Mr. Green.
No. You're not listening to me.
Common law.
There were basic laws, but what we need in this country, in this part of the world, is a tradition which people treat as sacrosanct. It's like a marriage, it's like a relationship in a family. you shall not do X or Y. And you grow up knowing that to lie is wrong. You grow up knowing that to urinate on the streets are wrong. You don't put it in the law. It's part of a tradition.
Yeah.
And that is what is vital and what is missing in many
Okay.
sectors of our society. these
Mr.
days.
Green, can you elaborate about Bacchus story? Bacchus, we got killed.
George Bacchus.
Yeah,
You
George
said- you
Bacchus.
said you won't do that now.
No, you gotta do that, you gotta do this. It's important, very important.
He'll reserve his right to give an evidence when the
Okay.
time comes and the proper place.
As I said, George Bacchus lived a few yards from me.
I know what you're about Bacchus.
I talked to him many times.
Yeah.
And he reached a point where he recognized he was part of a group to
Yeah.
assassinate people wrongly.
Okay.
And he himself was assassinated.
Okay, that's right.
I know his wife, she buys cows in the area. And it's a sad case. And all goes back to the Gajraj Roger Khan dynasty. All goes back to that. I see.
How long Raja Khan will be staying in the country? How long more?
How what?
Yeah, how long will he think he'll stay in the country? Raja
I
Khan.
think he's due to
Around
return
July.
in July.
July.
That's-
And he
that
has,
is what
they
I
say he
think
has
too.
a sister in St. Martin who has a lot of businesses with
What
cars
do
and
you
so
think
on.
in the
They have
direction?
they have the other chap, what's his name, to the airplane. I don't know when he's due back.
But he's locked away for a long time too.
Yeah,
But there again, I suppose the PP will disconnect themselves from him.
Yeah.
Here's a man with a private fleet.
And Rabatar.
Had access to the airstrip
Yeah.
without going through customs,
Yes.
immigration.
yes.
That was all done on the aegis
Yeah.
of Minister Ben.
Okay.
So how you say you don't know what's happening?
That's right.
And if the Americans didn't pick him up
That's right.
with that stash of money, when he stopped the refuel, he would have been floating.
The same man
high
is the
and dry.
commissioner on the JICA.
Then there's the other one, who also had support from that party,
Okay.
who flew out of Ogle.
And is outside still.
He crashed, I think, a week after.
Okay.
Caller, you need hello?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Mr. Sharma,
Yes.
the coalition make a lot of promises. Okay?
Didn't the same guy
Yeah.
called before? He called
The
before.
coalition make a lot of promises before they go in.
Yeah.
Oh, they have a lot of promises in the manifesto.
Yeah.
Now, you four gentlemen over there, the people are
For the mechanics, I cannot hear what you're saying.
May I
Yeah.
reply
Yeah.
to him
Yes.
in generic terms? There is no human system that in 4 years
Yeah, that's right.
or 3.5 years can correct the evils of 20 odd years. You have attitudes, you have people who are in the system, and I think the coalition has done fairly well. There are things
I think
that
so too. I think
I've
so.
been critical of some
Yeah.
people in the coalition, but you know, it's like a man who was battered half a foot.
But what
Yeah, Mr. Green.
has
You got to
happened?
correct him first before.
Yeah, yeah.
As you said,
Before he
they
walks.
inherited a lot
You
of
got-
things from the
Yeah.
previous
Mi- mi-
time.
mi-
And
Mr.
right
Green,
now,
you know what? Sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah.
right now,
Take the rice industry.
you go to the courts, you go to GRA, you can't get record because everything is still is not computerized. What is done in 2015, 2016 is not computerized. If you want to get a document about a property or something, a person working there at GRA told me they have to go this weekend and go through, go on their own to get this document because I've been waiting for 2-3 years already for it, and they have to go through a lot of files and so on because it's it's manual. It's a lot of manual work.
Mr. Sharma,
Yes.
what people are complaining about, and Mr. Green, I want you to understand this. I am on the street. People are complaining that they were tired and sick of the PPP. Some of them voted with their nose because they were PPP supporters, thinking that they will get a better government. There are lots of things, and you and I have discussed it over and over again, that we have got to clean up the institutions that were there for 23 years. And unless you get rid of individuals within the system, the legal, the police system, look,
Mr. Rahman,
the most,
how you get rid of it? Tell me how you get rid of it.
look,
How you get rid of it?
I agree with Mr. Green that
Yeah.
these things take time to happen. But look, Mr. Hole, in the
Yeah, with the
papers,
fishing.
yes, on
About
the
the
fishing
fish.
thing. I pointed
Miguel Barker.
a concrete example.
Yeah,
He's the minister responsible
yeah.
for the implementation of food safety in this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
He's the minister that has the authority to set up the necessary structures and mechanism to ensure that we reach international standards so we can sell our Gilbaka
Yeah.
Yes,
or
yes.
all the other things.
Yeah.
And he's complaining in the newspaper that that is not being done. No, that is the kind of thing that people are talking about. That is total incompetence.
Okay. Basically, waiting about that.
Look, Minister Scott.
Yeah.
Minister Scott went on air as the junior minister of labor criticizing the
workers.
teachers.
Yeah.
The teachers. Now, you can't have a minister, and I know my friend will agree with this, that you cannot have a minister like that.
Yeah.
Mr. Burnham or Dr. Jagan would have sacked that minister.
Okay.
That is what I'm talking, and that's what people are saying.
Basically,
We cannot-
what is
nobody-
your opinion?
Nobody can defend
What is
us.
your opinion?
He's right. I've talked about that
Okay.
as an example.
Yeah.
Yes.
President Granger is a very decent man, a very patient man, but I think his patience is going to run out very soon.
You think so?
Yes, he's been very patient with a lot of his ministers and,
Yes,
and
yes.
people in the public sector. He had in the president's office a man who was money laundering. He's now charged.
But the man's
That-
abroad.
Well, that's another story. That is because the president tried to take the correct route and give people a chance to change. But some people, you
Would
can't,
never change,
like the
Mr. Green.
leopard spot.
They will
you can't
never change.
you know.
And the people suffer in the meanwhile, Mr. Green.
In the old American system, there was the spoil
Yeah,
system. When a government changed, all the top officials were required to hand in their resignation
That's
Correct.
right.
and allow the new administration. But we don't do that.
Correct. We need to have that system.
Caller in the hello.
I stop talking my
Hello.
I just
Yeah.
want to read one little
Yeah,
part
go ahead,
from the,
please.
from the Jagdeo
Yeah, yes,
Manifesto,
yes.
where he talks about corruption. Can you imagine that? He says, for the first time ever, Guyana was cited for government of corruption as a source of money laundering in 2018 International Narcotics Control Strategy Report. Currently, the APNUAFC is mired in over 50 corruption scandals, including Durban Park, a house rental of Sussex Street, and so on. Now, listen to this. Mr. Jaipal Sharma is in charge of 50 forensic audits that was done against the reign of the Jagdeo era. 50. And in that, Dr. Thomas has calculated that trillions, more than $1 trillion, if you calculate it, have been robbed of the coffers of this country. And a lot of that money are lying abroad. Now, the reasons why they are hardly don't want this government is because the government has set up legally and properly, according to international standard, two bodies. One that was set up by them, SUCO, that was strengthened, and the other one is SARA. It is a body that was set up to root out, to look at the corruption that was carried out, the theft of public property, Mr. Sharma, by the last regime. And
The presidential candidate is facing 19 charges.
the presidential candidate is facing 19 charges, and according to my source, there are more to come. Now, as Mr. Green said, in other countries, when a person of that caliber, meaning a member of parliament, is charged, that person has to recluse
That's
him
right.
or herself. But we have not had that. And that is a kind of standard, and that is why it's important. Even though I am critical about a lot of things this government has not done that it promised to do, and I'm happy for you to tell me that Mr. Granger is going to take some action on some of these people. You have to take, but This government has set up the necessary infrastructure to deal with the police, to deal with elements within the public service, with the college, the public service college. I have seen students who have come out of that very courteous, very responsible, very competent. I met them when I go to the different ministries.
What is about the DPP now?
Well, there are some things,
What?
Mr. Shah, which I don't want to discuss with
But
you.
they have the
on
Integrity
on
Commission.
the The DPP should have reclused herself from a
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
number
Yeah,
of matters.
Yeah.
And that is when when we take action to remove her from that position, then I will be happy, because there are people who have been faced with a case
But
and charged
like the Muslim cleric.
like the Muslim cleric,
Yes.
and then it is reported by the woman in the papers, allegedly, as I say, that one of their acolytes went to bribe the woman not to follow up the charge.
Okay.
Now, under any law, including Islamic law, when a man commits such a crime, especially in Islamic law, he's executed.
Oh. Mr. Green, where you're for any DPP, what do you think about the DPP matter?
It's strange that the DP is still in place.
Okay.
But all she's been part of the housing thing.
Yes.
And I thought, as a professional, she herself should have asked to withdraw. She hasn't. I suppose she has good reasons.
She got more power.
But
Yes, she got more power.
More power.
Well, that's another
Yeah.
matter.
Influence.
Okay.
And I'll tell you off this program why that is the case. I can't tell you now.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because there's a big man in the PNC
Okay.
who financed the
Deputy
PNC,
Council.
who's a friend of ours,
Hello?
a relative of ours.
Hello?
Yeah, good afternoon. sir.
Good afternoon.
You and the panel?
Yes.
Yes, I am one of the persons that is so glad to hear that Mr. Roger Khan would be back here soon.
Yes.
But what the next thing I want them to do, government to do,
Yes.
is to have a serious talk with Mr. Khan, if they have to lock him up and review the entire system before.
Yes.
Because this man, Jack, is talking too much, and I know that if the opposition was in his place, they could not have been talking the way he's talking and telling threats and influencing one class of people when we're supposed to be together.
Okay.
I know he's a major problem in this country at the moment, Mr. Barachap.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I've commented on the Roger Khan saga already. And heaven helps us if we don't deal with him condignly.
Okay.
Because he's been responsible for the deaths of hundreds of young people. And it's a criminal thing that is unbelievable.
So what are you going to do with Raj Khan when he will return?
He could face charges.
I don't think he's coming back here, Mr. Sharon. I don't think so.
He has assistance in Martin.
Sharon Das says he's coming back.
No. He has got other matters to answer in other states of the United States of America.
How you know that?
How I know that?
Yeah.
I can't tell you here now.
Okay. I'll never take two more calls anyway.
Yeah, you go to St. Martin.
Yeah. Sanga, so we are voting.
On what?
On health. You're the one. Look at health.
Well, as we said before that, what more can we say? We need to have better management of the health facilities. That is all, and also decentralized. So not everyone will be coming to the Georgetown Hospital. They can go to West Dem, they can go to Miconi, Micah. They don't have to run to Georgetown Hospital.
Sir, how much about the rice industry now?
Oh, Lord.
Kalapsin, what was the problem?
You don't have much time to talk about the rice
No,
industry.
that's random.
The rice farmers are crying out.
Crying for what?
The reasons
For what? Water?
The reasons being is
What?
that the manifesto of this government that we all agreed has not been implemented. That is what people are calling about. Look, very quickly, the four things. The re-establishment of the Agricultural Industrial Bank that Mr. Burnham set up, which was a perfect institution that encouraged people, that made the small man the real man. And I admitted on this program here now that when I was in the PPP, we criticized those things which were stupid to do. But we see now, as we speak, that that was the right thing to do. The Minister of Finance is reported in last week's paper. He's saying that he's mulling on it. He's mulling. What does that mean? He's mulling on it. When Mr. Jaipal Sharma was here, he said that he will raise the matter with the Minister of Finance about a question of setting up, re-establishing the Agriculture and Industrial Bank, which lent money at 4% and 5%, which encouraged farmers all over the country, including the Linden Highway, where when you go there now, you will see lots of people who occupy lands. Those people got loans, and I know that personally. The second point is the establishment of the Rice Stabilization Fund. I listened to the president 2 years ago in the House of National Assembly, and I was looking at his mouth when he said, my government will establish the Rice Stabilization Fund. I sat on the Rice Board, where the chairman of the Rice Board, and I'll bring the minutes the next time I come to this program, to show you where it was agreed that he, the chairman, was going to talk to the Minister of Agriculture in relation to the establishment of it.
What do you think?
Let me finish. None of that happened. 3.5 years. What do you expect me to go and tell those rice farmers? I am going to Escobar Coast in the next couple of weeks or a couple of days. And I will have to explain them and tell them the truth. That Mr. Holder, the AFC, who is still part of this coalition and want to go to the election with this APNU, that they have failed the people.
What do you think about Jaipal as a Minister of Agriculture? What do you think about that?
Jaipal can't be Minister of Agriculture. He can't even plant 2 okra seeds. He don't know anything about agriculture. We don't want people to be... Look, he knows, our good friend here knows, being a minister is not an easy thing. Another, you have to qualify, but you have to have some level of knowledge, of management, of experience, of expertise, to be able to get things done.
So you are Agriculture Minister?
No, it's not about who wants to become agriculture. It's about you have a program and policy, and that you put the infrastructure in place so that you can get things done. People want results. They don't want to see nice words and people making promises.
It's a mistake and a myth that the Minister of Agriculture has to be a farmer, a Minister of Health has to be a doctor, a Minister of Security has to be a policeman or a soldier. That's a myth. A minister must have the sagacity, the intellectual nimbleness to read, to listen, and to ensure that things are implemented. I don't want to boast. But my first assignment was Minister of Works, Hydraulics and Supply. I turned that ministry around in 6 months.
And you had a good permanent secretary too, Marshall.
That's another thing.
Yes.
A good permanent secretary, a good engineer.
And technical officers.
I had people like George Marshall, Philip Alsop, Young Ram Sahoy.
Those are great men.
Great men. Steve Narayan.
Great men.
So that what has happened to the government at the moment, they don't have
competent people
to support them.
Exactly.
And some of the ministers maybe lack the humility to go and find out what's happening. But that is what they inherit, and some of them are trying.
Has any one of them called you as a former minister to get your advice and help on a number of issues?
Yes,
some of them, but
have,
not consistently.
Some have come to my house.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, I made a mistake. Drayton was the man at the time. Drayton was at Works, and
Drayton,
and housing was Marshall. Housing was Marshall.
No, Gordon Marshall was PS at Works.
I remember him at housing.
With Philip Alsop.
Yes.
That was a great team.
And Steve Narayan.
Yes, Steve Narayan too at the top here.
Young Ram Sahoy. And those are great engineers.
And the trouble is that the secretaries...
You had Lawrence Charles.
Yes. The secretaries they had were very because they went to bishops and so on. They were it's just in those days that they didn't go on.
My secretary is Mrs. Lewis, a great lady.
Yes.
Mr. Green waiting for Justice Party. Waiting for the party.
It's a good party. Justice for All, like every other party, apart from having a charismatic leader, is operating in an environment where the country, including the generation, still sees the two Leviathans as the political entities.
Leviathans?
Leviathans.
The Leviathans.
Oh,
I
Leviathan.
said. The PP and the PNC. That is our culture and our political environment. And I don't know that we have time to cultivate a strong, powerful third force. Justice for All has a role to play, a vital role to play. We've had disappointments with some of the other parties that you talked about. I talked about Scott. I don't know why he's still there.
The issue, Mr. Green, for Justice for All is that it is not getting a voice in the coalition. And we need to correct that.
You're wrong.
We need to be in a situation where the APNU, as Justice for All is part of that, the APNU, they need to have regular meetings, Mr. Green, so that they can air their views and opinions within the structure of that coalition. You have two coalitions. You have a coalition within a coalition.
And what's happening on the ground, you need to keep abreast
so
of what's
that
happening.
so that they can feed their views and opinion inside that. So because they're part of government. If you come here to defend the government and your views and opinions are not being heard by your partners, it doesn't make sense being part of that partnership. Don't you think so?
Okay, Mr. Rahman, waiting for the Justice for All Party. Straight up.
I think that the Justice for All Party has played a very vital role.
Yeah.
And I must say that, and somebody say I was massaging your ego, but that's not true. I tell you straight what it is.
Yeah.
In public and in private.
Yeah.
The Justice for All Party needs to be able to go out there and, yes, the last government you were able to film things that were happening to people.
Yeah.
But you were not in government. Now you're in government, so you have to play a much more responsible role in showing what the government is doing good for the people, also what it's not doing, so you get a balance of it. Because you have to separate yourself from the voice of the people, which is an entity that gives people much broader representation from the party itself. So the party is different, but the party drives these programs. The party is the one that drives the program. This program here.
Jeffrey, waiting for the Justice for All Party.
Yes,
Give your view. Straight up.
Yeah, well, I think the Justice for All has become such a partner in its coalition that it might be, we should think about it replacing the AFC, because the AFC had become a shell of what it was before.
But a lot of people don't want to accept that.
It's like a mill
around your
Hello, call again. Hello.
Mr. Sharma, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
The question is for Mr. Rahman. What does he hope to achieve when he tells the people in the table that is the Minister of Agriculture and the WPA are the people who are responsible for them not getting what they're supposed to get? What does he hope to achieve by so doing?
What do you hope to achieve by going to Sikkim and telling them that these things have not been implemented yet?
I hope that they will still be able to find a way in which and understand that they can't blame the president for all these things that have been happening, that the AFC had tied the coalition to this secret document called the Cummingsburg Accord, so that you tie the president hands and feet, that he can hardly breathe. You understand? So how could he sack? How could he sack this minister? Has he got the powers? Has the government, the president has the powers to sack this? As Mr. Green said, the president is acting in an honorable manner, Mr.
Yes.
He's acting in an
It
is difficult. It wasn't like Mr. Burnham or Mr. Jagan where they had control, total control. He has a coalition.
Remarks now. Your closing remarks.
I'll make the closing remark.
Yes.
The president is acting in a very delicate situation where he has a broad spectrum of people. All right? Some of them are pulling their weight, some of them are not pulling their weight. And he's having to find it difficult to deal with them. I'm happy to hear from an inside source from Mr. Green that the president is going to take some firm action on some of these incompetents that have held him to ransom. I hope he does that. If he doesn't do that, come the election 2020, it will be difficult for him to win.
Your closing remarks, please.
Yes, well, as I said, developing on that, the AFC is not what it was when it started out.
Okay.
And as I said, maybe the Justice for All Party can position itself
Yeah.
to be a replacement, being a stronger partner than replacing the AFC in the coalition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think we've
Mr.
got to
Green?
understand.
Pleasure remarks.
Party politics
Yeah.
developed in the late 40s and blossomed in 1953. We need to understand the culture,
Yes.
the need for charismatic leadership when we talk about political parties. We seen the UF come up and they faded when Peter Degar
moved on.
lost interest. As I said, Justice for All is playing a vital role in the coalition, and certainly I would advocate that they have a greater voice. Those who have not lived up to expectations, I prefer not to make comments like my friend
Yes.
on this program. But I hope those who recognize their failures and their foibles will be wise enough and honest enough to say, look, we are not contributing and we are getting more than we deserve. Let us give the president a wider hand and a greater role. You can't have a captain on the ship and you have restrictions. And David Granger is a decent man.
Okay.
And his problem is the Hermiston Accord, the other accords, Cummins Accord, which ties his hand.
Restriction from.
You need a system.
Yes, yes.
And this is the height of democracy.
Mr.
Where
Ram? Yeah,
if I have a child, the child must, if he falls short, he's disciplined.
Correct.
And you know he can't do it again.
Absolutely correct.
Mr. Ram, thank you for coming. Mr. Time for coming. It's not thank you for coming. Have an easy God bless you.
And happy matrimony to everyone.
Happy matrimony to all.